Welcome back. Yeah, I'm back. I'm not gonna stop. It's me, my camera, and my mic, and I'm gonna give y'all this pressure, as they've been saying. It's pressure. But today, as the title reads, and if you read the title, which most likely you did because you clicked on this video, and I appreciate you for clicking on this video, man. I'm going to do my first part. I'm gonna do these in segments because there's so many men. And with the appreciation, I want to make sure that they get their roses, man. They get their roses. Let me not be ghetto on here, even though it can come out of me at any time. And I am from the urban community, so, terminologies and things, sometimes, it could be different. I am yet a professional. I am yet an educated man. But, I can't decline where I come from. So, man, first on the list, man. The first person on the list that is on this earth currently, and I love him, is my father, Aaron Jerome Calhoun. Yes. We have a different type of relationship, father-son relationship. It's different. I'm going to let God handle it thus far. But let me speak about my dad real quick. My dad is a wonderful person. Yeah, the relationship is different, and the relationship is how can I put it, it's challenging, but I learned a lot from my pops. I learned a lot from my father. My father is a bishop now. He's been a bishop for I think over 10 years now. Bishop Aaron Jerome Calhoun, AJ as they call him. My father was one that taught you in a sense of hard work being the essence of life, right? If you know me, you know my dad, it's all about hard work. Like I play with it sometimes. I say my father is a Hebrew slave driver. He don't play. When it comes down to work, when it comes down to getting down with the get down and getting things done, my dad will push you beyond your limits. But this the thing with my pops, and I learned this also from him, and I want him to know this, that it wasn't just he will just push you to the limits. He will push himself, because he's not going to leave you alone at the thing. He's going to be working with you, so you're not going to be doing the work by yourself. He's going to be helping you and teaching you. That's why it's only so many people that can work with him. Like when I do work with my dad, even as an adult, and we do things, and I can see him like teaching other men, grown men, things, and he'll say something that makes me feel good, I guess. He'll say, "Look at my son. He doing his thing, because he knows how to work. He knows what to do. He don't ask no questions unless it's needed." That's my dad. Like my dad is definitely a hard worker, man. And I can remember, man, and this is I thank God for this training. For a long time I took it negative until I had to really think about that thing. My dad used to leave me by myself in certain situations, and I used to have to figure it out. So quick story, being like, I guess about, I say 8, 9, 10 years old. My dad was attending this church. He was a member. Let me not say attending. He was a member of Lively Stone. If you're from St. Louis or you know anything about Lively Stone in St. Louis, he attended Lively Stone. And while we were there, my dad was on the ministers board. So he was busy a lot, right? So it left me by myself a lot. He would just say, "All right, son, I need you to be here at certain times. Make sure you pay attention to the clock." And I just had to be there. And as a kid, this big old church, you'd be like, okay. But he trusted me with that, right? So he's giving me a few dollars to get me a donut and something to drink after Sunday school. But then I was by myself the entire day until the end of the day. And then sometimes at the end of the day, I still had to wait around after meetings, so it's for him to meet, depending on what was going on. So with my dad, not even one particular time, it happened all the time. So sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, I used to skip Sunday school, even though I love Sunday school, because I didn't go to that church. I went to a whole nother church with my mom, because my mom and dad weren't together at the time. So with that being said, I used to go to the historical room at Livingstone. I used to study their historical journeys, and I used to, figure things out on my own. I had to make decisions, and ask questions to people that I did not know from the church based off what's going on. Because my dad, he gave me a bracket of information, and I had to figure the rest out. And for a long time, I was upset about that. I was hurtful about that. But then when I start thinking about how my life is now and how I move, I was like, that was probably the greatest thing for me, because now when I look at my life, and I mean, based off, other things in my life too, that made me, and that was the light in the fire that's within me to be relentless about what I do. When it comes to something I need to get done, and it comes to work, like right now, you can't really see it, but it's books, paperwork, notebooks and stuff that right here, that I'm doing, what I'm saying, that I'm finalizing things, what I'm saying, and I'm reading things, and cause I have a mission, and I have a drive, and I have a purpose. And my father was one that, it was a gift from God. I took it negative, but it was actually a blessing in disguise. So I want to give roses to my father, and say I appreciate you for that. I know our relationship is still, whatever, but that's a God fixing thing, and he's going to do that, man. But I want to give roses and say, tell my father, I do love you. And that's more than enough. That's more than enough said. So Aaron Jerome Calhoun, my father, love you. Second on the list, a second father to me, my pastor back home in St. Louis, Bishop Teran Coleman. Been knowing this gentleman, been knowing this man of God all my life. He knew me before I knew myself. He knew my parents before they even had me. He met my parents and they were teenagers, 19 and 20 years old. And when they first got married and they started attending the original foundation of where we went to church. But quick story about my bishop. My bishop has always believed in me. And I didn't know why. He probably doesn't even know why. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. He hasn't shared it with me. But at the same age, about 8 or 9, I started working in the ministry of sound, being a sound technician for our church. I kept that job all the way until 2015 when I left St. Louis. And I want to give him his roses because he was such a pillar of information, of leadership, of wisdom, just like my father, that helped me. And it was because of that position that I played, God developed something deep inside of me, which was an ear. Now, to be a sound technician, you have to have a special ear, right? It can either be there and it be developed, or it can develop as you pursue and progress in that actual profession, if you want to say. So I was a sound technician starting at, like I said, 8 or 9 years old, along with his son who worked in the music ministry, starting off as just a drummer and moving, when we got older, he was the minister of music when I left, and still is to this day, and real good friends with me to this day. But his father, like I said, Bishop Teran Coleman, he worked with me. He depended on me to be there, and I took my job there so serious because I felt that God gave him the message. The message had to reach the people, and the sound of that message had to reach the people, and I was the governor of sound. So I had to make sure it was crisp. But in that development, you have to pay attention to every word that's said. You have to pay attention to everything that's moving, and you have to listen deeply, not just to the message to make sure it comes off to the people clearly, but you have to listen to the messenger that's speaking. It's deep. It's deep in which I think, and I understand now what God was doing with creating that ear to hear things that people don't hear. I'm gonna see who catches that ear to hear things that people don't hear. That's deep. God was developing my ear, but because we had a formula, like we had signs and things like that. If he needed to be turned up in the monitors and the mics, whatever the case may be, he had signs, and I had to watch his movements. Like it was more than just the ear. It was the eyesight, because you had to follow him. You had to follow him, and you had to listen to him, and then you had to also tune into the sound of how the monitors around the church were sounding to make sure that the message came out clear to the people. So I thank God for you, and I want to give roses to my Bishop Terency Coleman. Third, in this part one, would be a good friend of mine, Sean Ward. Yeah, he probably didn't even know I was gonna say something about him, but I am. I'm gonna tell you why. That's my brother. Now, he also comes from our church, but he also is a friend, a brother, a big brother. Yeah, he's a few years older than me, but he embraced me so well, and embraced me with a passion of love. We had our falling outs, playing the video games back in the day and things like that, and laughs. But we had more laughs than we had more cries and more arguments. But we did argue, it's brotherly love. So we did do that. But the reason why I want to showcase him, because what he probably doesn't know, and I want him to know today, is that Sean Ward opened up my eyes to something that I knew that was in my heart and made me be relentless about it. And that's the power of serving and being a servant leader. Now, all of these people taught me servant leadership, but being a part of Elder Sean Ward's outreach, Rescue Nation at the time, and serving people, that taught me so much. It taught me so much, and it actually was a launch pad for what I'm doing now and being a servant leader. Quick story. So at this one particular time that we had to serve the people and feeding them. We were feeding the homeless. Now, in some cities, they have an area blocked off. Make sure that was still on. They had an area that's blocked off for the homeless, where they can have their tents. They call it the tent community in St. Louis, where they have their tents. They can build homes, whatever. But that's service to the homeless. And so Sean came up with a program to where we can feed them. And so this project, we worked diligently the day before to prepare these meals, box them up, waters, juices, food, from cooking, from cooking to boxing them up, to wrapping them up, to grouping them up, and we got the trucks and all that stuff, got everything together that night and kept everything in the burners. And then the next morning, got everything together, and then we went on the mission, right? And I forget how many it was of us. I don't know. I think it was 10 or less. But we went out there and we served those people. And while we were serving those people, I was in tears at times, listening to the stories, seeing their lives, and my heart was filled with love and filled with a desire to want to help more, because I saw these people as being unfortunate. And I said, and I dedicated that day, I said, I have to be a servant leader to the people. He did that. You, Sean Ward, brother, I'm giving you your roses, because had that day never happened, that project, that program that you created, had it not happened, I don't know where I would have found that desire, that passion don't know. Would God have done it in another way? He probably would, but he used you, and that's a blessing. And so that's why I'm giving you a rose today. So that day, man, it changed it was one of those life-changing moments, man. So I thank you. So Sean Ward, I'll give you your roses. Next up, Sean Baker, my boy, my brother, I was a former employee under him. He's just a year, two and a half years older than I am, but he was already on a move as a professional. And this is during the days of me working at Harris State University, my alma mater, HBCU, by the way, St. Louis, Missouri. Check it out if you have not checked it out. But I have to share this because although these gentlemen that I spoke of prior to led up to this gentleman, and this gentleman opened up the door for me to exercise the gifts, the talents, the passion that I had for people in general, for youth and young adults, and the desire to see better. Like, his main objective with me was, Joe, I know you're a creator, you're creative, and you have a lot of ideas, you have a lot of programs you've written up, you have a lot inside of you, and I want to be the one to help you push it. So we had a budget. We worked in residential housing as well as under the umbrella of student affairs, because at that time he was the assistant dean of students, and I was working in an assistant role to him. And so he said, I ain't got the ideas, that's just not my gift. So I was programming. Some of those programs they still do to this very day, years later, because I started working there officially in 2011, but I interned for a whole year in 2010, not even knowing that I would get the job. That's another story. We'll talk about that later. But he allowed me, and I built up a friendship, a brotherhood with this gentleman. And Sean Baker, he showed me some things, and he taught me some things. And he understood that I was bold. I was bold about a lot of things, and he loved that part. He was like, because you have that boldness that, no, I'm not saying that he did not have, but I had that I'm going to get it. We're gonna get this done, and ain't nobody gonna scare me, and I'm not gonna be fearful of, putting it out there and doing it and making it happen. So he was that person. And one thing that he also taught me, he taught me a lesson. And if you've ever been under Sean Baker's leadership, he teach you trial and error. He's big on trial and error. He said, listen, if we got the money to try to get it done, let's get it done ourselves. And then if we can't, we can pay somebody, but let's try to get it done ourselves, to save a little bread, to learn something while we're teaching ourselves. I mean, we was doing some things that that I was like, we probably need to call a professional, Eric, but we really messed something. He's like, listen, if we mess it up, hey, we got a budget. We'll pay. We're not going to destroy it if it's already destroyed, but if we can try to fix it, well, let's try to fix it to our best ability, and then consult with a professional after the fact to see what we can learn to do it better, or to know how to take action the next time. Man, Sean Baker, I appreciate you. These are your roses, sir, on my platform, and I'm showcasing it to the world. So Sean Baker, thank you. And then I can't name all these individuals in this segment. This is to my uncles, man, my mother's brothers and my father's brothers. Man, my mother has 5 brothers, 4 yet are still alive. My father has 2 other brothers other than himself, and and one just passed away. But to my uncles, man, like, thank you. They taught me so much as an individual. Taught me so much, man. From working on cars to working in homes and being a man and like all of these people taught me these things, but my uncles were also pillars in that. So I got the overflow when it comes to, so we had some technical difficulties, but I was talking about my uncles. So I got the overflow when it comes to masculinity, and I want to send out love and roses to all of my uncles, man. I can name them real quick, but I just can't do it individually because that would take all day, man, because there's so much that they provided for me. So I'm gonna go from the top. My uncle Ozzy Jr., my uncle Jimmy, my uncle Jimmy. Who else? We got my uncle Paul, which has passed away. But when it come to cars, even all of them, when it come to cars, my uncle Paul was more so the one who did it like full time. My Uncle Ray, man, and my Uncle Ray. That's all I'm gonna say. My Uncle Ray and my Uncle Mitchell, which is the baby of the bunch, the baby of my mom's brothers and sisters. Spiritual leader, man, and so much I can say about my uncles. And then on my father's side, you have my Uncle Artemis. Things he may have not think he taught me because he was at a distance. He lived in Chicago at the time, majority of my life, or all of my life. He taught me so much when I was around him. Even when we converse and we talk over the phone now, it's such a pleasure. My father's youngest brother, my Uncle Harvey, whom just passed away a few months ago. It's still hard to go through that and to think about that. But my Uncle Harvey, man, such a loving individual, a caring individual. I'm trying to hold back my tears because he was so special to me. He was so special. He was so special. And I can't miss one more uncle. It's actually my auntie's husband, whom's just passed away. And if you didn't know, I lost 3 people in 11 months that were pillars of my life, and 2 of them were my uncles. My Uncle Junebug, Columbus McKinney Sr. Actually, Columbus McKinney, excuse me. He was not a senior, but he was Columbus McKinney. And we called him Uncle Junebug, and he taught me so much growing up because I spent a lot of time in that home with him and my auntie growing up, and I saw so much. We had so many amazing conversations that I take and I took them as life lessons. Yeah, I lost him first, and then less than 6 months later, I lost my Uncle Harvey on my father's side, and they both were extreme pillars of my life, man. And they left me with something, and I know they're proud of me. I know they were proud of me, and I know a lot of people's like, well, they're watching over you. I've said this before. I don't want them to watch over me. Let me tell you why. And I'm gonna close this because I've given them their roses, and I love them, and I will forever love them. But I don't want them watching over me because in the part of passing and going to the next dimension of life and that eternal life, we always talk about rest, right? And I want them to rest. I don't want them to do work. Now, you might want your loved one to do that, and I hope that's granted to you. But for me, I want them to rest, because this world can take you through the ringers. And if that's a sign and that's a time of rest, I want them to rest. I don't want them to worry. I don't want them to have concerns. That's where I find my peace. Your peace might be different, but my peace is knowing that they are resting. They don't have to worry about me anymore. They went to their graves loving me, believing in me. And that's enough for me, because I will always and forever remember the lessons taught through them. And I will take those lessons and I will teach them too. Not just to my family and my future of bloodline, but to the world. That's what I'll do. I'll take what they taught me and I'll embed that into the world as a servant leader. So after all of that, friends, family, loved ones, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you have not already done that. Please do that, man. Please do that. We're trying to reach more people, and we're trying to be pillars with our team. I know I'm the spokesperson of the team, but I do have a team behind me, and I love them also, man. And I'll feature them next time. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do this in segments, man. But this is my part one of giving roses to the men in my life who play amazing roles, man. So again, family, I love you. See you next time. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Matter of fact, if you got to this point, if you listen, I want you to put I listened, and I want you to share this message, because I want more people to say thank you. Give those people their roses while they're here, and then showcase those that you gave roses while they're here. If they passed away, talk and tell that story, because I have more, you have more. Let's talk about it, man. Don't be ashamed just because you're a man. You can say thank you. You can give somebody their roses. You can give roses to a man. You can say thank you. You can hug him. You know what I'm saying? You can take him out to eat. That's your loved one, man. That's your friend. That's your brother. That's your extended father or your father. Do that, man. That's your mentor, the wise man in your life. So don't be ashamed. So again, and always, I salute the divinity in you, and we will see you next time on ThinkSmart Radio.